Let's go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Air Pollution Control District Board for April 8th, 2014. And could we please have the roll call?
Board Member Zaragoza,
Here.
Board Member Tucker,
Present.
Board Member Sharkey, Board Member Pollock,
Present.
Board Member Morgan,
Here.
Board Member Long, Board Member Foy, Board Member Bennett, Board Member Ramirez,
Here.
and Board Member Parks.
Here. Thank you. And you'll notice everyone's got their own microphones now. We don't have to share. Okay. At this time, we're going to go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Ramirez, would you like to lead us?
Sure. Place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go ahead to our next item, which is the minutes of the meeting of March 11th. Do we have a motion?
You have something coming up in my
So moved.
We have a motion and a second from Supervisor Bennett. Are there any objections to the motion? Are there any abstentions?
One abstention.
We have one abstention, Councilmember Tucker. Our next item on, so that passes with that one abstention. And the next item on our agenda is our agenda review. Are there any requests to move anything around on the agenda, or should we just proceed as is? Not seeing any suggestions for changes, we'll proceed as is and go right to public comment. And I have a public comment card. For our 100-year celebration of the city of Fillmore, I think we are fortunate here to have the mayor of Fillmore and Councilmember Tucker to make some comments for us.
Manuel Mijares.
All right, supervisors, council members, thank you for having us. I won't take too much of your time. Mayor Pro Tem Doug Tucker and I want to inform you about our 2014 Centennial Celebration. 2014 is a very special year for the city of Fillmore, and we've come here to give you a lapel pin, both commemorating our 100 years from the city and also from the fire department as well. We're going to be having a special city council meeting on July 10th, where we're going to be recognizing residents that have lived in the city for over 100 years, long-standing businesses in Fillmore, and we're going to be recognizing these families. So it's going to be a special day. And you're going to be getting an invitation in the mail later on this year, and hopefully you can attend.
And if I may, the other thing we'd like to add as a city is we'd like to thank the county and our fellow city council members and their other cities within the Ventura County for your ongoing support of our community. Some of us, we're a little bit older than some of you. I know Camarillo and Thousand Oaks are doing 50 years, so we're twice as old as you. But you're definitely up with us in terms of your wisdom, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you guys both on the APCD board and working with you respectively, both from the county level and other cities level. So we'd like to really appreciate the time and efforts and energies that you've placed in supporting our community.
Thank you. Supervisor Zaragoza?
Mr. Mayor, welcome. And what day is the celebration?
It's going to be July 10th.
July 10th. 100 years.
100 years.
I think Oxnard Carmen is what, 110?
110. We're
110 years, yeah.
incorporated in 1903.
1903.
Got a little bit of silver on you.
Are you the oldest city then?
We may be.
Ventura.
Ventura's the oldest city.
Ventura 17.
Yeah.
Incorporated when?
And the county beat you all.
Long time ago.
Before California.
Congratulations on your
Congratulations.
celebration. What a great
great.
time to be the mayor and to be having this celebration.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All
you very
right,
much.
congratulations. You'll all be on Facebook soon, right?
Yes. About a moment.
Thank you for that. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You know, Your Honor, when you can say that you've lived in your city longer than it's been a city, that's saying a lot. We're just youngsters, and that's me and
That's
Camarillo.
right, that's right. And I don't have any other public comment cards, so let's go to board comments. Do any members of the board have any comments?
Just real quickly, I represent a few cities, including Camarillo, Port Hueneme, and the City of Oxnard on the Southern California Association of Governments. And last week at our meeting, we had information about the switch out of diesel lawnmowers for clean energy. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. And I talked to Mr. Villegas about trying to bring it back. But on the other hand, we should all be getting rid of our lawns now. So I have conflicting feelings about it, but I would like to see if we could check that out for the future. Thank you.
Any other comments? I know also we have coming forward is the Port of Hueneme Plug-in Days coming, right? And that will be a wonderful celebration. It's something that we've been pushing for a long time to see the electrification of the port and the reduction of particularly diesel emissions.
Yeah, just to let you know, I really urge, especially our chair and Supervisor Long, to attend the event at the Port of Hueneme, which is tentatively scheduled for August 24th. It'll be actually the second plug-in. They plugged one in last week, and it worked fine. So they really wanted to make sure that everything was squared away before they invited everybody. But it's going to be a big day. This is a major step forward for the environment.
Yeah, we were surprised to learn how much pollution comes from those ships that affect our county. It's a large percentage, as I recall, double digits.
Yes, it is. And April 24th.
Yeah, you said August, so I was thinking
Oh,
that's
sorry.
a long wait to
April
make sure,
24th.
but it's April 24th.
And they haven't set a time yet.
That's really a great partnership that brought that about, and even though it was a requirement, it's wonderful to have that. All right, then after board comments, we'll go to our regular agenda, and item 8 is to receive and file a study session regarding ozone air quality in Ventura County. Mr. Villegas.
Chair Parks, members of the board, I'm Mike Villegas, Air Pollution Control Officer. I wanted to give you an update on ozone air quality trends or smog trends in the county. And I know your board's aware that things continue to improve on this front, but I wanted to give you a current progress report. This slide shows the progress that we've made in reducing the days over the federal air quality standards over the past 40 years. And during this time, basically, the county's population has doubled, but as you can see, air quality is dramatically improving. When you look at the red line on the bottom, this was the old federal 1-hour standard. In 1977, we actually exceeded that standard 115 days during that year. And now we're down to recently where we basically it's just zeros on that standard. The middle line, or the green line, is the federal 84 part per billion standard, which we recently attained here in Ventura County, just on time to meet our statutory deadline. In 1977, you were looking at 157 days over the standard, down to 2 last year in 2013. And the current standard is the blue line, which is the federal 75 part per billion standard, which was reduced from 182 days in 1977 down to 4 last year. I'd like to point out that 2013 was actually the cleanest year on record here in Ventura County. The reason the lines are jagged are actually the effect of meteorology on a year-to-year basis, because you can have hot summers where you have significant ozone formation potential, and then you can have a summer like last summer where we didn't have those potentials. Even though it was a hot summer, we had a lot of subtropical moisture, which prevented inversions from forming in our inland valleys. But I want to point out this is days over the standard is not how APA determines whether or not you attain the standard. They determine it using a term known as design value. And how the design value is calculated, for any given year, you determine the 4th highest ozone reading for that year and the 2 preceding years. Then you average the values. So for example, for 2013, we would be averaging the 4th highest readings that we achieved in 2011, 12, and 13. And that would be the design value for the year. And this next slide shows you exactly how the design value has been trending. And as you can see, when you start to average over 3 years, it really damps down the effect of meteorology significantly. When our design value reaches 75 parts per billion, or in this slide, 0.075 parts per million, we'll have attained the current ozone standard. As you can see, we're trending there quite well. We're mandated to meet this standard by 2021, and as you can see, we're on pace to reach attainment. This was my earlier slide, shows not only are the number of days over the standard decreasing, but the ozone values on those days is dramatically decreasing. And this is a great public health, I believe it's a great public health story to tell for Ventura County. And I think we've been able to do it as an agency working cooperatively with a regulated community where basically our rules are at least accepted as something they can live with and in many times supported by industry. The one thing I do want to caution you on is the Obama administration's EPA is considering making the standard more stringent, and they're considering doing that by the end of next year. They're looking at a range of anywhere from 0.07 to 0.06. And as you could see from the chart here on design value, they said that at 0.07, we're in pretty good shape for reaching that standard. But 0.06 could be quite challenging for the district. And the last thing I want to note is if you take all the effects of human activity out, I've read some papers where the estimates that the background values of ozone that you would find would be about 30 parts per billion or 0.03. So still significant. And that gives you that's my presentation. I hope you realize what a great story we can tell on air quality in our county.
Excellent report. Councilman Ramirez.
Again, going back to what was presented last week at Southern California Association of Governments, I hate to say the word SCAG, it just sounds so ugly, so I have to think. Anyway, we did have a presentation in the committee I'm on, which is Energy and Environment, about the ARB's scoping for getting to cleaner air in California. And one of the things that was raised, which I'd like to see if we could get a report on in the future, is the impact of the landfills in our area. We know that landfills contribute internationally and nationally, locally, a huge amount of methane, which is actually more dangerous to the environment than greenhouse gas, and it does contribute to our air quality. So I think we in Oxnard in particular are trying to make even a super effort to kind of control what organics go into our landfills, because that's the source of a lot of the methane, maybe all of the methane. I'm not sure of the science, so maybe at some point we could have some discussion of that in the future.
We'll be happy to report back.
Thank
I'll
you.
just real quickly let you know that the district does have landfill regulations where we actually collect the landfill gas from wells, and they are either burned in flares or engines, or in the case of Tolan turbines. So,
Madam Chair, that is mined, the methane is mined, from the landfills. In fact, we're still mining from Coastal and even Santa Clara over at the golf course. And
Right.
I know it's mined and also sold too in the process. But that's a good point, something that we ought to look at.
Yeah, it's a good
happy to
point,
report back.
because I think CME does that with their landfill, and they
Absolutely.
produce enough electricity for 2,500 homes or
That's
something,
right.
whatever, or 200, yeah, some number like that, yeah, huge amount, yeah.
Well, this is a really great report, and
Yeah.
the quality of the air has increased to the best that it's been since probably we've been recording it in some aspects.
Yes, it is.
We had a report at the Board of Supervisors. Some of you may have heard parts of it, looking at community health assessments, and just the idea that we now have areas where we can see where we have good health, good air quality, and it'd be interesting to see if it also relates to better health, and particularly lung health. So there's some good opportunities for doing some of those kind of studies too, looking at air quality and then the health. And they have it down by city now and all the way down to zip codes. So it's might be some interesting statistics that we can look at that way too, comparing the health before we put in a lot of these measures and what they are now today, because that's the whole goal of this, is protecting people's health.
Mike, if I could just ask you real quick, sorry. Most of this is automobiles, right? That's the greatest reduction to reduce most of the stuff?
A large, mobile sources are the major player.
Major thing. So the idea, it goes back to, I know that we're going to talk about a piece of property, but it goes back to us as a county and citizens driving as much of our resources on East County instead of having to come to this county, which is, as at one time we talked about tens of thousands of car trips, a year that are doing that we could be doing if we had services in East County, that all these people don't have to drive up here all the time to do that. So it's a big issue that we got to look at that, because that's something that's besides time and save, and a lot of this issue is right there. And also opening up our freeways and roads because of less cars on the road, so.
And talking about mobile emissions, the MATE study that was probably, 10, 15 years ago, just studied specifically the diesel emissions next to freeways and found that the health of the people living close to the freeways, they're suffering, with things like asthma and emphysema, right? And a lot of that's just from the particulate emissions.
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, one of the things, we've been here a little while, and one of the things we were dealing with years ago was we had gas that was seeping toward the homes over there. And then we started maintaining, I wouldn't call it maintaining, we started to using it and pumping it out and
Natural
decreased
gas?
that problem from the landfills.
Oh,
And so now it's become a resource rather than just a particulate. And we've made use of it, especially in Weldon and Simi.
Yeah, it is nice to be able to see the use of the methane and also being used in the haulers in their
Exactly.
trucks. So does that conclude your report?
Yes, it does.
Are there any other comments? Thank you for that report. Good news. And let's go then to item 9, which is also to receive and file. But first, let's have a motion. Can we have a motion on item 8, which was a receive and file report?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Pollack and a second from Councilmember Sharkey. And no objections, we'll call that unanimously approved. And now go on to item 9, which is also a receive and file for a Section 103 grant from the EPA. This is receive and file an application,
Yes.
not necessarily a study
Yeah.
session. Do we need to have a report on this?
No, we don't.
Okay, how about a motion then?
Move to receive and file.
Got a motion and a second. Did you catch that, Brian? Thank you. Any objections to the motion? Seeing no objections, then we'll go ahead and say that one's passed unanimously also. We have one thing on our correspondence agenda, item 11, and this is to receive and file the correspondence. And this is expressly giving their appreciation to Michael Villegas for his presentation of the services provided by the APCD to the grand jury. Glad you're able to do that. Got a motion and a second?
Second.
Or two. And seeing no objections then, that also passes.
Your Honor, I wish every department, Madam Chairman, wish every department, every city were able to get a good rating like this that fast.
From the grand jury?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll ask you later what that's about.
Okay, thank you. At this time then, I believe we'll go into closed session and adjourn from closed session with no announcements. Okay. I know we also have a standing committee meeting we're going to go to after we finish something on the Board of Supervisors.